would like to call our front row regular town council meeting to order on Monday, May the 11th, 2020. This time, Ms. President, could we have a roll call?
Mayor T-Wall,
Here.
Vice Mayor Seelock, Councilman Cockrell,
Here.
Councilman Gillespie,
Here, thank you.
Councilman Holloway,
Here.
Councilman Meza,
Here.
Councilman Thompson.
Were you able to hear me, Tina?
No, I'm sorry I didn't.
Okay, sorry. I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Todd, did Bill answer back?
I did not hear him, but I saw him unmute his mic.
Okay. Motion carried. Next item is item 2, approval of the minutes, special meeting minutes for April the 20th, 2020. Joint work session minutes from the Board of Supervisors minutes of May the 4th, 2020. Work session minutes of April the 20th, April the 27th, May the 4th, 2020. Regular council meeting minutes of April the 27th, 2020. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council approve the minutes of the special meeting of April the 20th, 2020, the joint work session and Board of Supervisors meeting of May 4th, 2020, the work session of April 20th, 27th, and May 4th, 2020, the regular council meeting minutes of April 27th, 2020 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Do we have any discussion? Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Seelock, Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item tonight is reports. Report of special committees or town officials or interim town manager. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I have several things I want to review this evening. First item, there's a road closure for Happy Creek Road. The town of Front Royal Street Maintenance Department will have a road closure on Happy Creek Road between Manassas Avenue and Washington Avenue to complete asphalt repairs. The repairs will begin on May 12th, weather permitting, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. So we ask everyone to be on the lookout and the motorists to drive slowly in that area and watch out for the flaggers. Also wanted to discuss with council the plans for the partial government opening. Staff and I have been working thoroughly reviewing Executive Order 61, along with the accompanying Phase 1 guidelines put out by the Governor's Office on Friday. Town staff, excluding those designated as high risk based upon VDH guidelines, will be returning to work next Monday, May 18th. Accordingly, here's our plan for a partial reopening of the town hall. The town hall finance department, citizens are still encouraged to utilize the drive-through drop box, pay their bills online or by credit card. As a reminder, fees have been waived until June 30th, and then I think we're discussing soon about leaving that more permanent. By telephone at 540-635-7799. Or they can pay by mail or check by mail using check or money order at P.O. Box 1560, Front Royal, Virginia. We'll be opening May 26th for citizens for the finance department. Any citizen who feels as if they must pay a bill or conduct business with the finance department in person are to maintain social distancing, no more than 10 in the lobby, and encouraged to wear a face mask and follow all directions on signage. All other town departments, meetings with citizens will be conducted by appointment only. Please go to the town website to obtain the necessary phone number or email addresses. All employees have been instructed to disinfect their work area and common space on the hour, every hour during a workday. What I wanted to also go through, I've had a number of council members calling me, talking about various timelines and activities. And just so happened that last week on May 6th, there are two articles in the Northern Virginia Daily. The first article I saw, it was titled "City to Lay Off Most Part-Time Employees," and that was regarding Harrisonburg, Virginia. And the other article was "Virginia Town Announces Layoffs Amid Coronavirus Outbreak," and that was regarding Abington, Virginia. In the first article regarding Harrisonburg, there were some key points in it. City officials estimated Harrisonburg was going to lose $4 million in projected local revenue as of June 30th. The city manager said, quote, "As the pandemic continues having an impact on our community, it is now clear that we must take action in order to continue providing core services at a time when we have seen the loss of millions of dollars of vital funds," end quote. In addition, the city officials implemented a hiring freeze, stopped capital outlay purchases for non-essential projects, delayed non-essential projects as well. The city manager said there are no plans yet for how the city's budget will be impacted for fiscal year 2021. Also in the same article, Stanton fired 64 part-time employees in mid-April. So in the second article on May 6th regarding Abington, it was a similar story. The town laid off 13 full-time and 64 part-time employees. The town also placed a hold on all non-essential spending, such as traveling, training, and equipment replacement. Work on the FY 2021 budget is currently underway. So this was May 6th, this article came out. The reason I bring these two stories up this evening is this. Members of council, the town of Front Royal has led the way and has consistently been 2 steps in front of this crisis. And for some perspective, on March the 12th, Governor Northam declared a state of emergency. On March 23rd, the governor issued stay-at-home orders and closure of non-essential businesses. Also, that same day, council approves the COVID-19 emergency ordinance. On March 30th, there was a work session, general budget discussion, and credit card convenient fees were discussed. On April 3rd, we met with department heads concerning FY20 budget. On April 6th, the finance director and I continued to meet with department heads concerning the FY20 budget. On April 8th, there was an internal review draft FY20 shortfall document. On April 9th, within 17 days from the governor's closure of businesses, council was presented scenarios at a work session to discuss this year's budget potential shortfalls. Also at the same work session, council discussed local economic recovery options to be developed by staff and presented to council. That's 17 days after the closure of businesses. On April the 13th, met with departments concerning next year's budget. On the 14th, we had more meetings. On the 15th, more meetings, and we also started discussing economic recovery plan. On the 16th of April, presentation slides were internally reviewed for economic recovery. On April 20th, which is 11 days, within 11 days of planning for this year's shortfall, council had a work session. And at this work session, options for local economic recovery was discussed, and continued discussion of next year's tax rates, as well as next year's budget discussions where we reviewed potential shortfalls. On the 22nd of April, the economic recovery brainstorming meeting. On the 23rd, we draft versions of the economic recovery framework, which were created. On the 27th, council approved this year's budget amendment transfers for contingency funds. And there's a work session for local economic recovery. On May 4th, there was a work session to advertise next year's budget appropriation ordinance. And here we are, May 11th, in the public hearing of providing local economic recovery assistance going to be discussed at the public hearing tonight. I took the time to offer you this perspective because I think it's important for you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council, to know how your finance director and department heads have stepped up to the plate and have done an extraordinary job during an unprecedented time in our history. Also, I think it's important that the citizens realize the forward planning you have done to attack the fallout of this pandemic head on, while other jurisdictions are just now thinking about what to do. The town of Front Royal has basically done it. We significantly trimmed this year's budget and identified contingencies for potential shortfall of $1.65 million. And that's with only 2.5 months left in this fiscal year, I might add. Also, we redid next year's budget and identified contingencies for potential shortfall of $2.9 million, or approximately 8.7%, excluding power purchase. Lastly, a plan has been developed for local economic relief if you decide to institute it. All this has been done, members of council and Mr. Mayor, in 2 months. Now, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions? Next item this evening is requests and inquiries of council members.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to take a second. I was surprised to hear that report from Mr. Tiedrich. Man, 2 months seems like 6 months ago. And every day is something new that it seems like is trying to be addressed. And so that is incredibly impressive to hear that outline of how the town of Front Royal has acted and reacted to the fluctuating state of COVID-19. So, hats off to Mr. Tiedrich and the department heads of the town of Front Royal. Great job. Always felt confident in everybody's abilities. But I also recognize that there have been very few days off and very little time to accomplish everything that they've done. And so, again, I just appreciate their hard work. A couple of things I just wanted to mention. We have done a lot of great work as a council and as a town. But as Mr. Tiedrich also outlined, with what other municipalities are dealing with and how they're having to respond to one of their bigger line items and expenses is with layoffs with town staff and some salaries. And I think that we've discussed a lot of these things, but I feel that council is still waiting for the economic blow that we're going to feel with a lack of revenue that's going to be coming into this town. So I'm confident that we have I'm confident that we have the ability to pivot as needed, and maybe that's what most of council's waiting for. But I think that as other municipalities have started to realize the economic impact is not something that is, a maybe, it is inevitable. And I think that we're gonna have to start wrapping our minds around how to react to that in a timely manner. I also, in regards to the governor's order, Executive 61, that came out last Friday, and starting to open up town businesses and getting a little bit more of a flow in our community, I do want to bring up to our mayor that I am comfortable in meeting with council in person and in the public. I know that we've pivoted and went to the WebExes for everybody's safety, but I think that we're tackling some very difficult issues. I know that there are a lot of people in the public that want to weigh in, and I think that we can come up with some creative ways in doing that so that we are present, especially as we start talking about reopening our businesses and championing for those. So I just wanted to throw out my vote of confidence in our ability to do that, Mr. Mayor, and am comfortable with your direction as you decide how we should move forward with that. And then lastly, number 5, we're going to talk about item number 5 tonight. We're going to talk about, we're slated to talk about the budget amendment to start some economic development, distributed economic recovery for some of our businesses in the town. And I am excited to see the response that we received in support of that. But in light of the executive order that came out last week and some creative solutions that I think we can come up with to help support our businesses, I would like to propose, which I will do under the proposed for addition and deletions on the agenda. I would like to propose that we table this conversation for 2 more weeks or until the next public hearing, so that we can discuss some alternative solutions that we can use with the funds that we're setting aside for this. Specifically, they're in the new order, the new executive order. For instance, restaurants are limited to outside seating, and as most people know, our restaurants have very limited seating outside. Very few restaurants have limited seating outside, but we have a lot of restaurants on Main Street, and I want to look to see how we can creatively support these businesses by allowing for them to create outside seating, and perhaps looking at what we do with our downtown Main Street in the interim in order to support those businesses. Perhaps we need to, allow it to be more of a walking mall for the time being, so that we can allow for outside seating out near our restaurants, so that they have the ability to open up. Additionally, I think that, and I had a conversation with most of my council members about this, but I think the town really needs a legal vehicle in which we can work with to help our town businesses by distributing these funds. We've talked about donating them to not-for-profit. We talked about, trying to set up a grant program that way. But it is a lot of money, and I would like to figure out a way for us to have that legal vehicle to still have some authority and discretion in how we're allocating those funds. Additionally, how are we going to be able to help these businesses kind of post-COVID, whether they stay in business or they don't. And also, there's a lot of conversations going around right now related to federal funding and state funding that will be given to local municipalities that have these economic vehicles to be able to distribute to businesses, which the town does not. And I want to talk about that in a work session with council members so that we can see if still hold to the idea of being able to set aside funding to be able to help these businesses, but in maybe a more robust manner where we have, again, kind of that economic vehicle to be able to do that. So I wanted to throw that out there tonight so that you weren't surprised when we came to propose for additions and deletions on the agenda.
Jake, since this is a public hearing, we're going to have to hold a public hearing tonight since it's already been scheduled. And then you can make that motion that you discern you're concerned about at that time to table it or whatever you decide to do with it. But we still have to hold a public hearing since it's been advertised.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is Councilman Seelock. I also agree with Councilman Meza that I would support tabling item number 5 for a lot of reasons, and I'll expound on those later. But the real issue that I want to bring before council tonight is that Baker Tilly in the search for a new town manager is on target as far as I'm concerned for meeting our deadline. As you know, the portal is online for your viewing. I've had several councilmen that have voiced some issues, and Steve Miner has responded quite well. Also, the town residents' input has been placed online. You have that as well. There were some extremely pointed and good discussions by the residents, and I appreciate that. Remember that Baker Tilly is vetting each and every one of these candidates, and they will narrow it down. But if you see a candidate that did not make the list or has not been sent a questionnaire and you feel that they should be included, please make sure that you voice that going forward. Like I said, Baker Tilly is doing an extremely good job for us right now. So let's keep this momentum moving and meet our deadline. And June the 4th, make sure you put that on your calendar so we can discuss further interviews with these candidates for a new town manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just want to again echo Jake's comments as far as tabling item number 5 for tonight. But also, I want to thank Mr. Tiedrick for your leadership through this COVID-19 epidemic, and staff. You guys have worked tirelessly through this, and I know a lot of the praise and accolades don't usually come, but I wanted to be the one to say thank you, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in town who realize it, but some behind the scenes who don't. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd like to say something. This is Tasha. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So I just wanted to talk about item number 5 as well, because I wanted to get the most bang for our buck and do as much as we can for the businesses, because they do so much for us, like not just providing a place to eat or things to do, but they're also donating to all the different causes and offering up their places to hold events and so forth. And we really need to rally behind these small businesses that keep our town afloat and help them out in the best way we can.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, something that Mr. Seelock spoke about with Baker Tilly, I was just wondering if there would be a possibility for Baker Tilly to maybe just do a little in-service for us on how to navigate the online site for council members. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that way, but just making sure that we know what to click on and those types of things. I'm pretty technologically savvy, but that is a different type of website, and I don't want to miss out on any information. And maybe if no one else needs that assistance, then I guess I could always call him and he could help me individually. But I just thought I'd throw that out there if others would need help.
I second that, Lori.
Bill, can you get in contact with Steve and talk to him about that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will do likewise. We have a work session coming up next week. We might be able to carve out a little bit of time to do exactly what Councilman has recommended. So we can talk about that later. I will do that, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next item tonight is report of the mayor, and I have none this evening. Last on D is proposal of addition, deletions, or items to the agenda. Okay, next item is number 4, consent agenda. We have no items here this evening. Item 5 is a public hearing this evening, front row budget amendment to utilize funds for unrestricted general fund reserves to be donated to a nonprofit third party to distribute economic recovery assistance to eligible business affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to open our public hearing at this time, and I believe we have some correspondence. Tina, could you read those, please?
Yes, we have 4 tonight. We'll start out with Rick Novak, who owns Royal Cinema and Royal Family Bowling Center. He says, thank you for considering implementing a local approach to economic recovery for our town due to the COVID-19 outbreak and the resulting devastation to businesses. As you are aware, both the theater and the bowling center were forced to close due to Governor Northam Executive Order 53 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are urging you to adopt the recommendations made by staff. We are urging you to act now, don't delay. It was already difficult to operate in a small town economy. There is not likely huge reserves in most business accounts to survive the 3-month shutdown and the inevitable slow recovery that will occur once we reopen due to social distancing measures and citizens' reluctance to come out of their homes. Many businesses will close forever. In our case, at the Royal Cinemas, the studios will not release any new movies to the U.S. market until mid-July. or when 95% of states are open, or not until New York, California, and other major cities open due to their playing a key part in the movie's financial success. We have retained all of our staff, 9 at the theater and 15 at the bowling center, and paid them 100% during the shutdown. We will retain them when we are allowed to reopen. We were able to do this by not paying our rent for the last 2 months. We don't anticipate being able to pay June's as well. We are facing a dwindling checking account. At the theater, we had over $47,000 in that account before the closure. At the bowling center, we had $77,000. I reveal that so you might know that we are not teetering on the edge prior to the pandemic. We plan for the regular ups and downs of the business cycle. Since the closure, we have lost over $100,000 in revenue at each business and counting. According to my trade associations, Congress is not considering anything further to assist small business in the short term. Some businesses may take on additional debt to survive through loans offered by SBA. We have as much debt as well as we can handle responsibly at this point. The improvements that we have done in the last few years have added hundreds of thousands to our bank debt to keep the business competitive with adjoining jurisdictions, competitors, and offer the citizens of Front Royal entertainment options in our community so they don't go elsewhere and spend their money. As you are probably aware, businesses do not require much in the way of services. They help to fund community initiatives by being a net positive to taxes through the various tax mechanisms localities use. For this reason, I am imploring you to return some of those tax dollars from the town surplus at this time to those businesses that helped fund it. Sincerely, Rick Novak. The second one is from Craig Laird of Royal Oak Computers. Mr. Mayor and council members, I am the owner of a 30-year business in the town of Front Royal. Until March of this year, we were projected another good year of sales and service to our community. Now, as we are in the midst of this pandemic, I am unsure of the state of business health over the next few months. We cannot wait for the federal or state government to give us a handout or continue telling us how to slowly phase back into business. We, along with all the local independent small business, need help now to get us over the economic downturn from being cut back, closed, or furloughed. We look to ourselves and our closest government, the town, to help us out of this global event faster, stronger, and more flexible than we could have considered even a short month ago. I request that you vote in favor of the economic assistance package that staff has developed and put it in place immediately so that it can have an immediate effect. My computer business has been considered essential, for which I am grateful. However, it has felt the toll, like all other companies, from fewer people coming out and businesses forced to close. There are businesses like the Kiln Doctor that lost over 80% of their income when the schools in and out of state closed and no clay could be delivered or equipment maintained. They need help now, as they have seen no money from the SBA through last week. I feel that any help to us to help keep us stabilized will not only help the health of small business, it will also take some stress off the business owners as we watch every penny, nickel, and dime. So please vote to give a helping hand by approving this assistance and help us all come out of this leading the way for all communities in Virginia. Thank you, Craig Laird. The third one is Linda Allen, 15 Massey Street. Good evening, Mayor Tewalt, members of Town Council, and staff. The budget amendment has the following flaws. Number one, the request is based upon a draft rather than a finalized program. Any adjustments would not have passed the Town Council. Number two, the request fails to use a competitive process to determine the most qualified nonprofit to handle evaluating applications for funds. Number three, the request fails to acknowledge that credentials, experience, and appropriate staff would be expected to be present in a nonprofit selected to evaluate applications from business for grants. The example given of a nonprofit is a lobbying group for its membership, and Blue Ribbon Committee has no stated criteria for membership. Number 4, the request fails to state how much the selected nonprofit would be paid to do the job of evaluating applications. Number 5, there are federal and local bank programs with expertise, experience, and offers to help do the task proposed by this proposed expense to the town of Front Royal. Number 6, the tiers reward the businesses that make the largest amount of money when it is likely that the smaller businesses have the slimmest profit margin, therefore face the highest risks in survival and restart efforts. Number 7, the second sentence on page 1 of the proposed program under intent of program states funds to be used first to pay outstanding town of Front Royal utility bills, and ends with the idea of any remaining assistance to be used by applicant for other business expenses. The last part that allows the business person to use the grant for any other business expense leaves a great deal of room for abuse. It could be used to make a payment on the personal car of the business owner that is used to drive to work. Consider that others work in businesses located in the county or elsewhere, also driving their personal vehicle to work while pondering the fact that this is taxpayer money in general, yet the number and kind of beneficiaries are being restricted. Number 8, how will you prove transparency in this program? In that one business gets a grant, yet another business does not. There is no acknowledgement that the public funds would be publishable for the public to read. Number 9, there is no indication that this $1 million would be a separate account, such that commingling of funds does not occur. I will be amazed if the town council passes this amendment to the town budget. Town council made known the need for a large-scale infrastructure program which borrows from our 4 nonprofit businesses. It made known the overflow problem of the wastewater treatment plant that puts raw sewage, 35 million gallons, into the river last year, for which we will have to consider solutions that are costly and should be enacted in the near future. It is a public health issue. Town council also spends $692 daily in interest on the police station because it would not accept a favorable adjustment in the interest rate on the loan that must be paid for the police station. In fact, it does not pay out the principal, or at least presents itself as not paying on the principal of the loan. The case will not be heard until September, and that means a sizable amount of money is literally being wasted every day by town council, and again, that is taxpayer money that the council is burning through. Yet we citizens are going to have to pay that interest added onto the loan for several months, as well as the lawyers. Town council has also disallowed making money by tourism without any replacement program. The list is long and significant. One council member said to me, "Trust me, we have your best interest at heart." Baloney. I want to know if you can add and subtract and prudently spend our money. Show me the evidence. Vote no on this amendment to the budget. And then our last one is from Michael Swager and Arlene Link from the Kiln Doctor. Mr. Mayor and council members, Michael Swager and myself are with the Kiln Doctor in the town of Front Royal, Virginia. We have been in business over 30 years, living in Front Royal since 1998. As a small business, it has been a struggle. We were working towards a very successful year when everything stopped Friday the 13th. We lost 80% of our business. The majority of our business is service and repair for school districts. When the governor issued stay in place and closed all the schools, all we could think of is how are we going to make it? We were able to make some changes to our business to help with some income, but it is not enough. We filed for all the loans we could the end of March, beginning of April. We are still waiting. We have been in touch with the SBDC, the Chamber, Herb Melrath, and others to stay on top of what we can do to survive. We were disappointed in not hearing from our town and county as to what they could do to help the small business. We heard rumors of an economic assistance from the town. If this is true, I hope you vote on going forward with helping support all our small local business. Small businesses are not looking for a handout, just a hand up. Help us to get through these trying times. Michael Swager and Arlene Link of the Kiln Doctor. And that's all for this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Presley. This time we'll close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I want to make sure that I follow the Roberts rules on this, but I would like to make an motion to table this conversation until our next public meeting, so that we have some time to discuss some of the conversations that I had mentioned in prior comments.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion then? Any discussion?
Mayor,
Mayor T. Walt,
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that's fine if, I would be fine with us tabling it. I know that 2 weeks ago when we discussed this, we all said we wanted to, hear from the public. 4 people shared their thoughts with us, and that was read into the minutes from the public hearing. I had countless people that I spoke with that are not in favor of their concerns for the financial impact of the COVID-19. Their concerns were for future expenses that the town might have, such as payroll and things like that. Their concern was releasing $1 million from our reserves, and some concerns about future services for the town if our reserves were used in this way, that they might have town services interrupted. So I just did want to share that's the feedback that I've gotten until today, until those emails that the town council received today in favor and support of that. I had not had one citizen, and trust me, it was many, 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 that shared with me that they were not in favor of this. So I would say that if we are going to table it and discuss it again, that we encourage citizen input again, because at this point I'm not getting a strong feeling that the citizens were supporting it. So maybe moving forward, if we have a different plan, we just so that we can get that out to the public and get input as well.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to reiterate that, and I think what Councilman Cockrell said is absolutely right. I mean, more people, the better. This council is trying to come up with a way to be able to sustain our small businesses through the COVID crisis, and I think this is an excellent approach, and I'm still in favor of taking some funds, setting aside for our small businesses. I think that I still feel pressure that we should move quickly on something, and I'm willing to continue to have either we meet weekly or have a special meeting to discuss this. But I do think we need to act sooner rather than later. I think one more thing that might help the public is I think everybody gets the concept of putting aside $1 million and redistributing it in the form of grants to these businesses. I think the hard thing for people to understand is if we're on one hand making expense cuts for the town, how on the other hand are we putting $1 million aside for grants? And I think that can be explained. And I would like to, as part of tabling this, I would like to make sure that we all have the appropriate understanding. I don't want to say talking points because that sounds bad, but the appropriate understanding of how we're doing this so that we can communicate effectively and appropriately to people who are asking those questions. Because depending on how you answer that is going to make somebody for or against that economic support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, Ms. President, could I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Seelock?
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Are we voting on the motion by Mr. Meza and myself?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure that's yes.
Councilman Cockrell?
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item this evening is item number 6. Council approval and ordinance amendment to Chapter 160 pertaining to license of vehicle, particularly the display of vehicle decals. This is the second reading. Ms. President, could you read the summary on this one, please?
Council's requested to adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance amendment to Chapter 160 pertaining to licensing of vehicles, particularly the display of vehicle decals and stickers as presented. If approved, the Town of Front Royal vehicle decal sticker will not be required to be displayed on vehicles. However, the decal sticker may be provided upon request.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion this time?
Mr. Mayor, I move the council adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance amendment to Chapter 160 to remove the requirement for town vehicle decals/stickers to be displayed on vehicles, but allow the decal sticker to be provided upon request as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not, Ms. President, could I have a roll call?
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item tonight is item number 7. Council approval and ordinance to amend the Chapter 134 pertaining to the state requirements issued by the DEQ. This is also the second reading. Ms. President, could you read the summary, please?
Council is requested to adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance amendment to Chapter 134 pertaining to new state requirements issued by the Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, and pertaining to more stringent standards for sewer and procurement of waste as presented.
I hear a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that council adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance amendment to Chapter 134 pertaining to new state requirements issued by the Department of Environmental Quality and pertaining to more stringent standards for sewer and procurement of waste as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. President, can we have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Seelock, was that a yes? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item tonight is item number 8. Council approval and ordinance to amend to Chapter 85 pertaining to the removal of a recycling collection fee and other amendments. This is also the second reading. Would you read the summary, please?
Council is requested to adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance amendment to Chapter 85 to remove a recycling collection fee of $10 and change the name Environmental Services to Public Works throughout the chapter. If approved, the failure to separate recyclable materials is $10 per occurrence after third violation notice will be removed from the town code due to the separation of recyclables no longer being required.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mayor, I move that council adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance amendment to Chapter 85 to remove a recycling collection fee of $10 and changing the name Environmental Services to Public Works throughout the chapter as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. Could I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item tonight is item number 9. Council authorization to advertise for the FY 2020-21 annual appropriation ordinance. Do I hear a motion? Oh, hold on. Let me read the summary first, please.
Council is requested to authorize staff to advertise the FY 2020-2021 annual appropriation ordinance for Tuesday, May 26, 2020, as presented.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council authorize staff to advertise the FY 2020-2021 annual appropriation ordinance budget for Tuesday, May 26, 2020, as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
No.
No. Thank you.
Motion carried. Next item tonight is item 10, council approval, SWAG IT Production System LLC for video recording services. Would you read the summary, please?
The video recording equipment in the Warren County Government Center boardroom is outdated and malfunctioning. A joint work session was held with the County of Warren on May 4th, 2020 to discuss replacing the aging equipment. Council is requested to approve a contract with SWAG IT Production Systems LLC at a cost not to exceed $48,267.50 to replace the video recording equipment in the Warren County Government Center boardroom and install new equipment in the Town Hall conference room, contingent upon the County of Warren approving their shared cost of $39,717.50 for the boardroom. All costs include annual support, hardware, and service.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that council approve a contract with Swaggit Production Systems LLC at a cost not to exceed $48,267.50 to replace the video recording equipment in the Warren County Government Center boardroom and install new equipment in the Town Hall East Conference Room, contingent upon the County of Warren approving their shared cost of $39,717.50 for the boardroom. All costs include annual support, hardware, and service.
Here's a second.
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 Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to say thank you to Todd for bringing this to our attention in the presentation that we received last week. It was very thorough, and I think that we spent a lot of time asking questions around this. One of the things that I'm most excited about with this is I hope that this will bring us up to date. And I realize that a lot of people don't want to come out to the government center for town council or the board of supervisors, and more people are viewing our meetings online. I think this is going to be an excellent resource for them to either find specific spots of our meetings that they are interested in or agenda items, or even to watch it while stream it from home. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the near future we have more interactive elements for citizens to participate. But for now, I'm really glad that we're taking a step to move ourselves forward and be able to put the resource into place for people to watch our meetings online.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Seelock, I fully support this action. As pointed out, that are brought up in our discussion, this is fully funded, and these funds can only be used for this endeavor or an endeavor like it. So it's also bringing the town into the 21st century, and I fully support and recommend this. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say that, like Mr. Seelock, I definitely support this. I think that citizens will find the ability to see our agenda, see different parts of the meeting videos. I just think for transparency's sake, the citizens are are going to find this service very user friendly. I also did want to mention for any for citizens who might question why our cost was stated higher than the county. And that is the difference is we have already factored in our transcription part of the contract, and the county will have to make that decision on their own whether or not they want to do that. So that's all.
Matt, at our Thursday meeting, when we put the agenda together, didn't you tell me that we're going to take out the transcribing portion of that we discussed earlier?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct, and Ms. Cockrell, just to give you another perspective of why the county's cost is different than the town's. The county's cost is different in that the service cost includes school board meetings. So that's why they have more school board meetings than we do. Planning Commission, BZA, BAR, and our regular meetings, as well as our work session meetings. So that was the biggest difference. If you notice, the actual hardware cost is split equally. The annual support cost is the same, but the service fees are different. And then what we did also is we added in the town hall conference room where we hold our work sessions, so that we can have that recorded as well for the citizens. So that's the difference.
Thank you, Matt. Any other discussion?
So are you saying that we won't be having them transcribe the meetings for us? Our staff will be still typing up the minutes based on what they're listening to?
Yes, yes and no. If you notice on the page that I have on the screen right now, you'll see something called Sound Search Service, which is the fourth bullet under the summary of included services. That is for lack of a better term, that is a watered down transcription service or capability. So some of the capability of transcription will be there, which will allow the clerk and any other individuals typing minutes to have the basic transcription service, which was already included in the package. What we priced in previously, we priced in the word for word or full transcription service. And after talking with staff after the meeting, it was decided that the money would be better spent in putting it into the town hall conference room, and that we can go, since the videos are going to be stored in perpetuity for the history of our minutes. The town attorney and the clerk felt that if we just did more of a summary as opposed to what they're doing now, which is a much more involved summary currently, that it would satisfy all the requirements and not only that, but meet the letter of the law. So, answer your question, yes, there's some transcription service, but not as in depth as it was presented at the work session. So I understand why that caused some confusion. I should have brought that up sooner.
Thank you, Matt.
So will the citizens, when they are watching the video, and the way it was explained to us, that they could actually tap on the agenda item and see the transcript, will they see the transcript that Swagat does, or will they see the minutes from our staff?
Yeah, it's my understanding they're going to see the sound search service, which is the basic transcription. Todd, if that's not correct, would you correct me?
No, you're correct, Matt. They'll see the sound search option as we demoed in our meeting on Thursday. Additionally, they can click in another place on the same website and view the minutes. We're working on the website to view the minutes. And the only difference between the two transcription services basically is that names are not included in this version. The other version had the names included. But since staff has to review them anyway, we thought it would be best to save that money.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good questions.
Anyone else? We have a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Did you hear me that time?
No, I didn't hear you, but I heard you the last part of it. Was it a yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion carried. Next item tonight is item 11. Council approval resolution to request that the General Assembly to determine these towns shall be represented by one delegate in the House of Delegates. Instead of reading the summary, could you read the actual resolution, Tina?
Yes, hold on one second, please. Resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Front Royal requesting the General Assembly to determine that the Town of Front Royal shall be represented by one delegate in the Virginia House of Delegates. Whereas Article 2 of the Constitution of Virginia states, Section 6, apportionment. Members of the House of Representatives of the United States and members of the Senate and the House of Delegates of the General Assembly shall be elected from electoral districts established by the General Assembly. Every electoral district shall be composed of contiguous and compact territory and shall be so constituted as to give, as nearly as is practicable, representation in proportion to the population of the district. The General Assembly shall reapportion the Commonwealth into electoral districts in accordance with this section in the year 2011 and every 10 years thereafter. Whereas the Town of Front Royal is a relatively small municipality with a population of approximately 15,240. Whereas for quite a number of years, the town has been divided among 3 electoral districts and represented in the General Assembly by 3 different delegates simultaneously. Whereas while the representation the town has received from its representatives in the General Assembly has been responsive and effective, especially in recent years, having 3 different delegate members in such a small town over such a small geographic area is confusing to the citizens of the town, making it difficult for many citizens to determine which delegate is theirs, which delegate to contact when having business to conduct with the General Assembly, or where each delegate stands on any particular issue that may be of interest to town citizens. Whereas having the town divided between 3 electoral districts and represented in the General Assembly by 3 different delegates simultaneously in such a small geographic area and among such a small population grouping with such a commonality of interest means that should not all 3 delegates representing the town agree amongst themselves on proposals submitted by town citizens or town council to the General Assembly to be enacted into law, the effective result that the representation the town and its citizens directly receive thereby in the General Assembly and thus ultimately with the governor is at a minimum seriously diluted and even more noticeably in some cases could be completely eliminated. This could create not only an unconscionable practical problem for town citizens with its representation in the General Assembly, but effectively could have the effect of legally and unconstitutionally depriving the town citizens the right to uniform representation in the General Assembly compared to other Virginia citizens. Article 1 of the Constitution of Virginia, Bill of Rights provides, Section 14, government should be uniform, that the people have a right to uniform government. And Section 3, government instituted for common benefit. That government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community. If the town's citizenry, in effect, end up not having real representation in the General Assembly, because the views of its very own advocates in the form of its own delegates negate and nullify each other, then the town citizens do not have uniform representation representing them for their common benefit, protection, and security on a par with other local jurisdictions which do not have conflicting and divided delegates on matters of vital concern to the town citizenry. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Front Royal that the General Assembly at the next possible opportunity so reconstitute the electoral district in which the Town of Front Royal will be situated to that the entire corporate limits of the town and all the town citizenry will thereafter be in one electoral district to be represented by one delegate, just as the Town of Front Royal is currently so ably represented by one senator in the Virginia State Senate. Be it further resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Front Royal, the town manager and town attorney of the town file with the General Assembly and the town's appropriate delegates and senator a true copy of this adopted resolution and take such further and lawful action and execute such further and lawful documents in furtherance of the intent of this resolution as may be necessary and or appropriate to effectuate this resolution.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council approve resolution to request the General Assembly to determine that the Town of Front Royal shall be represented by one delegate in the Virginia House of Delegates as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call, please? Or
Do we have
any
discussion?
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This kind of troubles me a little bit. We have three fine delegates here in our area. Chris Collins, Todd Gilbert, Michael Weaver. All three of those gentlemen work very hard for us, and were instrumental just months ago when our Second Amendment rights were being threatened at the State House. Secondly, at the State House this year, infanticide was being brought up, and Mr. Todd Gilbert very, very, very strongly fought that back, right along with Michael Weaver and Chris Collins. I just want to warn our council members. This sounds like a good idea, but be careful when voting for this, because we could be gerrymandered into an area, and they might not hold the same values or beliefs as we do here in the Valley. So just be careful. I will be strongly voting no for this. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Seelock, this is pure gerrymandering, and I look forward to retaining the three representatives that we have. We do not need our vote watered down at this point. We have a long way to go before the populace vote is taken, and the governor of the state of Virginia will determine what gerrymandering that Warren County has. And I'm very concerned about this, and I do not support moving to a single representative at this time.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say that I agree with Councilman Gillespie and Seelock. I too will be voting against this.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand the point that Councilman Gillespie made. I think that when you think about our current delegates, Weibert, Collins, Gilbert, they're fantastic guys. They've done a great job representing us. I think the motion for this, and I want to be really clear, I actually could go either way on this. I wasn't the one who brought it up for the public meeting tonight, but I think we feel pretty well represented by our current three delegates. They do a great job, and I don't think anybody ever intended this to be a slight to any one of those individuals. I think the question arises with two things. Number one, question of concern rises with two things. Number one is when if one of those seats turns over and it was a delegate that didn't generally go along with the other two, then the town of Front Royal would be, or 2 versus 1, then the town of Front Royal could be in a tougher situation. And then it will look a little bit different as we try to petition for one delegate at that time. Right now, the 3 delegates that we have, I don't remember the last time where one went against the other. So that's a real possibility that we face. And number 2, the reason why I believe this originally came up is because any time that we look to change something, or a particular issue comes up that we want to address, we have to go through 3 delegates in order to have that issue championed by one of them. So it is a little bit more of an arduous process. But again, I just wanted to point out those differences and can go either way on this. If council seems with at least the 3, if council feels that now is not the time for this, then I'm completely supportive of that as well.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Seelock again. When I said populist vote, I really meant consensus. And the census taking has not happened at this point and looks like it's going to be further delayed. So once the census is taken, then that will become an issue. And I think it's a little too soon at this point to be canvassing our legislature to do this. So that's why I'm not supporting this action.
Anyone else? Ms. Presley, could I have a roll?
Vice Mayor Seelock,
No.
Councilman Cockrell,
No.
Councilman Gillespie,
No.
Councilman Holloway,
No.
Councilman Meza,
No.
Councilman Thompson.
No.
Motion is defeated. Next item is item number 12. Council approve a resolution to request governor to allow town council to determine when local businesses can open. Would you read the summary, please?
Of the summary?
Well, you can read the summary and then read the actual resolution, if you don't mind.
Okay. Council is requested to approve a resolution to request Governor Northam to allow town council to determine when to open local businesses. Resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Front Royal, Virginia, requesting Governor Northam to allow Town Council to determine when to open up local businesses. Whereas the Commonwealth of Virginia is a diverse state composed of many local jurisdictions, which vary in size from large, densely populated metropolitan areas to small towns and villages to rural, sparsely populated rural areas. Whereas the Town of Front Royal and its surrounding jurisdiction, the County of Warren, are both smaller, more rural, less densely populated parts of the Commonwealth than many of the other parts of Virginia. And whereas on March 12, 2020, Governor Ralph Northam declared a state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Virginia in response to the continued spread of COVID-19 and declared the anticipated effects of COVID-19 to be a disaster as described in Section 44-146.16 of the Code of Virginia as amended. Whereas on March 15, 2020, Governor Northam announced a ban on all gatherings of 100 or more people statewide. And whereas on March 16, 2020, President Donald Trump urged people to avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people. And whereas on March 17th, Governor Northam and the State Health Commissioner issued a declaration of public health emergency addressing the need to increase social distancing to inhibit the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And the governor, by press release, urged all Virginians to follow the federal guidance limiting non-essential gatherings of more than 10 people and urging all Virginians aged 65 and older to self-quarantine. Whereas in response to the Governor Northam's orders and the declaration so mentioned, Town Council of the Town of Front Royal was satisfied shortly thereafter in March 2020 that the public health threat posed by COVID-19 constitute a real and substantial threat to health and safety of persons and property in the town, and that a declaration of local emergency was necessary and essential to the town. Whereas according to the latest available numbers from the Lord Fairfax Health District of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the county, of which the town is a part, there are but 4 hospitalizations and no deaths. No figures are available for the town itself, but the town has a population of approximately 15,240, while the county as a whole has a population of approximately 40,164. These numbers of hospitalization appear to have stabilized and have remained consistent for some time now. And whereas there is located in the town an excellent hospital, Warren Memorial Hospital, a member of the Valley Health System of hospitals, and other top-of-the-line healthcare facilities and healthcare professionals serving the northern Shenandoah Valley, including the county, as well as parts of West Virginia. And whereas the Town Council's declaration of local emergency in March 2020, shortly after Governor Northam's and the State Health Commissioner's declaration of public health emergency were issued, Town Council has taken the COVID-19 outbreak seriously and has reacted seriously to it ever since, urging social distancing, urging citizens to stay and work from home whenever and wherever possible, including its own town staff. And whereas most commercial businesses within the corporate limits of the town are small ones, independently owned and operated, not franchises or affiliated with large national or international chains. Most of these businesses are owned and operated by people who do not have large financial resources and do not have the resources to stay closed indefinitely. Many, if not most, of these businesses are of the type which depend on being physically open to customers in order to survive. And whereas these businesses have done everything in their power to comply with all orders, declarations, and recommendations so mentioned, whether or not they have the force of law simply because the owners and operators are good citizens. However, many, if not most, are facing permanent closure if they are not able to open very quickly for some sort of business. Permanent closure for the owners and operators of these small businesses would mean financial ruin for them and their families. And whereas the town in 1989 lost its biggest employer, Avtex, which employed thousands of workers, causing the local unemployment rate to rise to very high levels, which in turn devastated the local business economy in town. The physical site on which Avtex was located was highly polluted, and after it was cleaned up, it was designated a Superfund site by the Environmental Protection Agency, which has left the town with a certain lasting economic stigma. It has taken the town many years to rebuild its local economy, which has still not been fully accomplished. In fact, beginning in 2017, Town Council approved and embarked upon a downtown revitalization plan, a part of which was applying for and being granted a Community Development Block Grant by the Virginia Department of Community Development, which was just started when COVID-19 outbreak began. And whereas just as the town seemed to be turning the corner on its economic business future, the local Economic Development Authority, of which Town Council and town staff is not a part, has become embroiled in legal and financial scandal, further jeopardizing the town's economic future. This scandal is still ongoing and is the subject of multiple lawsuits and criminal investigations. And whereas Town Council is comprised of local men and women who take their town, their larger community, their commonwealth, and the health and welfare, physical, mental, and economic of the town's residents and citizens seriously, and the Town Council members are quite able to assess local conditions carefully and in the best interest of their citizenry, as demonstrated by Town Council's declaration of a local emergency almost as soon as Governor Northam and State Health Commissioner issued a statewide declaration of public health emergency. Likewise, the citizens and residents of the town have demonstrated remarkably good judgment and concern for their fellow citizens and residents by following said declarations to a T. Whereas Town Council is of the opinion that statewide public health pronouncements concerning COVID-19 as to what might be important and appropriate to large, more urban areas where large outbreaks of COVID-19 have occurred, and where the local economies might be more robust, are less appropriate and meaningfully as they are to a small, more rural, less economic, robust jurisdiction, such as the town. Whereas Town Council is further of the opinion that in this day and age, with wall-to-wall news coverage on smartphones, computers, televisions, and radios, and based on the citizens and residents of the town having conducted themselves in an exemplary and responsible fashion to the declarations with respect to the COVID-19 outbreak to date, the citizens and residents of the town will continue to use discretion and good judgment going forward. If restrictions are relaxed and local businesses in town are allowed by Governor Northam and Town Council to reopen on a local basis. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Front Royal, the Town Council respectively request the Honorable Ralph Northam, Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, a limited exemption from Executive Order numbers 51, 53, and 55, and further executive orders and declarations of the Commonwealth as they may relate to COVID-19, closing of businesses, social distancing, and social gatherings only to the extent as they may relate to commercial businesses and enterprises within the corporate limits within the town of Front Royal, so as to allow Town Council to determine when and how local businesses in the town limits can safely reopen. Be it further resolved by the Town Council that if this resolution is looked upon favorably by Governor Northam, and Governor Northam grants said request as if the number of COVID-19 hospitalizations or deaths in Warren County trends significantly upward while this limited exemption is in place, that Town Council will of its own accord take such action to restrict town business activity as appropriate under the circumstances, and if necessary, request Governor Northam to impose such lawful actions to secure the public health as appropriate under the circumstances. And further be it resolved that the town manager and town attorney are hereby directed to take all lawful, necessary, and appropriate actions to effectuate this resolution.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I honestly don't know how to read this one a little bit differently, but I want to make an amended motion.
Okay.
I would like it's basically going to read verbatim, but I want to move that council approve a resolution to request Governor Northam to allow Town Council to determine when to open local businesses, with an amended resolution to the one that was just read. And I feel really bad asking this, but would Tina be able to read that resolution, or do we have to vote on that first?
No, if you're going to make an amended motion, we need to vote on the amendment first. Motion.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, this is Matt Tiedrick. There is no amended motion yet. There's no motion on the floor as of yet. So,
But Dick was said about the amended motion, and then we need a second if he wants to amend it.
yes, sir. I'm with the town attorney currently. If he wanted just to make this resolution the motion, he could do that without amending the former one.
Thank you, Matt. I stand corrected, not an amended motion, but rather a motion with an updated resolution. Same motion with an updated resolution.
What differences would be? I saw it on our email, but I didn't get it in time to go through it. Jake, I mean, how much?
The difference between the amended motion or
Yes,
updated?
and the one we just read.
There's some significant changes, enough that I would want to make sure that it was read. And Mr. Napier, would you agree?
Yes, sir. This is Doug Napier. There are differences that that enough that I think it's worthwhile reading it. And if Ms. Presley's voice is getting too tired to read it, I will be glad to read it.
I'm happy to read it.
Or Mr. Tiedrick can read it. But Mr. Meza is correct. I think there is significant differences, and it's a matter of emphasis in particular, that there are some concerns of the constitutionality of Governor Northam's latest executive order. I don't want to get into parsing through that as to what those potential objections are, but I think Councilman Meza has rightly pointed out some of these issues, potential issues with the governor's executive order.
Okay, Jake?
Mr. Mazer, or Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I will second Mr. Maze's motion to read
Okay.
the alternate resolution, and let's have a different voice this time, please.
Okay, that's what I was saying, because, we advertised this one, so we need to amend the motion instead of passing the original. So who's going to read it? Doug, you going to read it?
I'll read it, Mr. Mayor, if you like.
Okay, either one.
Okay. Resolution, and Mr. Meza, let me make sure this is the correct one that has the red annotations in it, correct?
The red notes for a few and one under.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Make sure I had the right version. Resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Front Royal, Virginia, asserting its competence to determine when to open up local businesses. Whereas on March 12, 2020, Governor Ralph Northam declared a state of emergency for the Commonwealth of Virginia in response to the continued spread of COVID-19. And whereas on March 15, 2020, Governor Northam announced a ban on all gatherings of 100 or more people statewide. And whereas on March 23, 2020, Governor Ralph Northam issued Executive Order 53 banning public and private gatherings of more than 10 people, shutting down certain businesses and other entities, deeming some functions, quote, essential, end quote, and excluding others, including religious worship. And whereas on March 30, 2020, Governor Northam issued Executive Order 55 banning Virginia residents from leaving their house except for certain authorized purposes. And whereas the Virginia Circuit Court for the city of Lynchburg has declared Executive Order unconstitutional as it relates to the operations of an indoor gun range in the case of Lynchburg Range and Training versus Northrop. And whereas the U.S. Department of Justice has joined a lawsuit in behalf of a small church in, I don't know what that is. Chickatink, Virginia, who's suing Governor Northam, arguing that the application of his orders against the church violate the U.S. Constitution, stating in part, quote, there is no pandemic except to the Constitution and its Bill of Rights, end quote. And whereas other establishments throughout the Commonwealth, including gyms, have sued Governor Northam, alleging that he has exceeded his authority both under the state and federal constitutions. And whereas the town of Front Royal doubts the constitutionality of Governor Northam's Executive Order 53 and 55 and finds them irreconcilable with the freedoms of assembly, religion, and other rights enshrined in the constitutions of the Commonwealth of Virginia and the United States of America. And whereas, according to the latest available numbers from the Lord Fairfax Health District of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the county, of which the town is part, there are few hospitalizations and one death. And furthermore, these numbers of hospitalizations appear to have been stabilized and have remained consistent for some time now. And whereas there is located in the town an excellent hospital, War Memorial Hospital, a member of the Valley Health System of hospitals, and other top-of-the-line healthcare facilities and healthcare professionals serving in the Northern Shenandoah Valley, including the county, as well as parts of West Virginia. And whereas Town Council continues to take COVID-19 outbreak seriously and has reacted seriously to it since March, urging social distancing, urging citizens to stay and work from home whenever and wherever possible, including its town staff. And whereas most commercial businesses within the appropriate limits of the town are small ones, independently owned and operated. Most of these businesses do not have the resources to stay closed indefinitely. Many, if not most, of these businesses must remain physically open to the customers in order to survive. And whereas these businesses have done everything in their power to comply with all orders, declarations, and recommendations so mentioned, whether or not they have the force of law. Simply, the owners and operators are good citizens. However, many, if not most, are facing permanent closure if they are not able to open very quickly for some sort of business. Permanent closure for the owners and operators of these small businesses could mean financial ruin for them and their families. And whereas, beginning in 2017, Town Council approved and embarked upon a downtown revitalization plan, a part of which was applying for and being granted a community development block grant by the Virginia Department of Community Development, which had just commenced when the COVID-19 outbreak began. And whereas town government is comprised of local men and women who take their town, their larger community, their commonwealth, and the health and welfare, physical, mental, and economic of the town's residents and citizens seriously. And the town government is able and is better situated to assess local conditions carefully and in the best interest of their citizenry. Likewise, the citizens and residents of the town have demonstrated remarkably good judgment and concern for their fellow citizens and residents by faithfully following some guidelines and orders. And whereas Town Council is of the opinion that a single statewide approach is inappropriate for Virginia, which contains rural localities like Front Royal that remain largely unaffected by the COVID outbreak. And whereas Town Council is further of the opinion that the citizens and residents of the town will continue to use discretion and good judgment going forward, and now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Front Royal that the Town Council respectfully requests the Honorable Ralph Northam, Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, a limited exemption from Executive Order 51, 53, and 55, and further executive orders and declarations of the Commonwealth as they may relate to COVID-19 closing of businesses, social distancing, and social gatherings, only to the extent as they may relate to commercial businesses and enterprises within the corporate limits within the town of Front Royal, so as to allow Town Council to determine when and how local business in the town limits can safely reopen. And be it further resolved by the Town Council that if this resolution is looked upon favorably by Governor Northam and Governor Northam grants said request, and if the number of COVID-19 hospitalizations or death in Warren County trends significantly upward, while this limited exemption is in place, the Town Council will, on its own accord, take such action to restrict town business activities as appropriate under the circumstances, and if necessary, request Governor Northam to impose such lawful actions to secure the public's health as appropriate under the circumstances. And further be it resolved that the town manager and town attorney are hereby directed to take all lawful, necessary, and appropriate actions to effectuate this resolution. Approved this 11th day of May.
Thanks, Matt. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First off, thank you, Mr. Tiedrich, for reading it. I apologize. I could have easily read that as well. I think that to summarize a little bit of our conversation from last week and why I think it was important to have a little bit more direct emphasis in this resolution, the paragraph towards the end, speaking to the fact that the governor has taken a single statewide approach for all municipalities in Virginia is really the emphasis that I want to drive home. Front Royal is more of a rural area. It is not one of our major metropolitan areas, and yet we all have the same guidance and guidelines that we have to follow. I think that's inappropriate, and I think that many of the paragraphs emphasizing that point throughout the resolution are incredibly important. We talked earlier about finding or funding grant programs to help our small businesses. But one of the most important roles that I think council has is to be able to use their voice to express their concern at a state level, in this case to our governor, when something is adversely affecting our town. On behalf of our citizens, we're speaking up and saying, this does not work. This is not good for our town. This is not good for our businesses. And I want to be very clear here. I'm not diminishing the seriousness of the COVID disease, the contagiousness, and the danger of it. I'm not diminishing that at all. I just would ask that our governor hear this resolution as our concern that we're taking just use the word straight out of the resolution, a singular approach for all municipalities.
Anyone else? Have a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yeah.
Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Doug, since this is another resolution, should we go back to the original and vote it down?
Couldn't hear.
Say it again.
I say, since this is a new resolution, should we go back and to our agenda and vote down the original?
Oh, no, you don't need to vote down the original.
Okay, I thought we wouldn't have to, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, this one superseded.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks a lot.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that concludes our budget, our thing, and now we need to go into a closed meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the council, well, I don't have it, Mayor. Can
It's on
somebody
the
else
screen.
make the motion?
It's on the screen. It's on the screen if anyone would like to see it.
I can read it. I move that town council go into closed meeting for the following purposes. 1, to discuss the location or expansion of an energy-related business or industry in town where no previous announcement has been made of the businesses or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the town pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.5. of the Code of Virginia. 2, to discuss the award of a public contract with FDR Services Corporation of Virginia Incorporated involving the expenditure of public funds and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.29. of the Code of Virginia. And 3, consultation with legal counsel employed by town council regarding specific legal matters, specifically modification or renegotiation of the contractual provisions of FDR Services Corporation of Virginia Incorporated, requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.8. of the Code of Virginia.
There a second.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. President, can I have a roll call?
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried. That concludes our meeting, and we'll be back later, and we'll log back in if anybody wants to stay to hear the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder to council, you should have access to the closed meeting via a separate WebEx link. And Mr. Jones, you'll keep this meeting open until which time we can come back in and vote out of the executive session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori, would you take us out of closed meeting?
Absolutely. I move that the mayor and town council certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, as recognized by each mayor and council member's affirmative vote, that only such public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting by the mayor and council, and that the vote of each individual member of mayor and council be taken by roll call and recorded and included in the minutes of the meeting of town council.
Your second. Have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call?
Mayor T-Wall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock, Vice Mayor Seelock, Councilman Cockrell,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza, Councilman Thompson,
I missed three.
I didn't get Meza or Seelock.
Seelock, yes.
Thank you. Meza,
Mr. Jones, did you allow Mr. Meza in?
Yes, he's there. His microphone is unmuted.
Jake, can you hear us?
No votes.
He just texted me and he said for some reason no one can hear him. Not sure why.
Is that acceptable as a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
He just texted me and said yes for me.
Okay. Motion. Now here, a motion to adjourn.
Mr. T-Wall, can we ask both Mr. Napier and I missed, who made the motion to come out of executive session?
Lori.
And who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Jake. Yes to all the questions before.
Okay, Jake.
Thank you.
Okay. Now here, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Here's a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. Good night, guys.
See you later.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.